Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another coloring adventure with CLAldridge Art. I decided to have a new bit of interaction, hopefully, with all of you, and I hope that you will take me up on the challenge. For those of you who know me, my name is, or don't know me, my name is Christine Aldridge, and I do draw coloring books. I do make a living with my art, and I encourage you to buy them. Hopefully you will like and subscribe to my channel and join me for this palette color along. And there's a freebie in it for you. At any rate, this is my newest book, which is the best of CLAldridge 40 fan favorites. It is the companion to my mandalas book, which, if I were better prepared, I would have there for you. I prepared everything except where the mandalas book was. So this is my mandalas book, and it is currently on the market at Amazon and Etsy, but what we're doing today is going to be in 40 fan favorites. And this is the first episode of what will be my very first color along. So what I have done is I have chosen a picture from this book. And it is, see if I can find it now. It is this particular picture. Might as well show you some of the others while I am here. These, by the way, 40 fan favorites has 5 of the first 10 most favorite drawings from each of my 8 books. There's a total of 80 drawings that will go into fan favorites 1 and 2. This is volume 1. Volume 2 will be released at the beginning of September. So these are the 8 books for which there are 5 drawings each. The book that this image comes from, if you already have some of my books, is this, Flowers of Fantasy. If you happen to already have fan favorites, then it is in there. But if you don't have it, or if you don't have any of my books, but would like to color along, down in the description below, there is a link to the Facebook album where you can print off your very own copy of this on your own paper. And I'm providing that to you for absolutely free. There is no obligation to buy. While you're there, I hope that you will check out some of the other albums. There's lots of coloring inspiration there. And if you like the art that I draw, if you would head on over to my Etsy shop or Amazon and buy a book or a drawing or two, that would be very helpful to me. Otherwise, you are free to just color along and join with me. So this is the drawing that we'll be doing. Now, the palette challenge is rose pink, mustard and gold, or mustard gold, and olive green. Those are the colors. Now, obviously, you are free to choose your own colors, but these are the colors that I'm going to be working with. So if you want to color along with me, I'm going to be using my favorite budget brand of pencils, which is the Deli Starjoy colored pencils, 72 in the set. I am told that they are very akin to the polychromos. They certainly look like polychromos. They lay down like butter. They blend beautifully. And if you're wondering about the missing pencils, those are all the ones that I've chosen out here. These are under $30 on Amazon. Also, there's a link for them in the description below. It is my Amazon affiliate link. If you use it and actually buy those pencils, then I earn a small percentage that costs you nothing from Amazon for providing them an open sales window through my website. So these are the colors that I've chosen, and I'm going to zoom you down just a little bit. Now, in the deli set, the pencils are numbered sequentially. There's no pigment information or anything like that. They're just literally, they start at 001 and they go through 073. And so I have chosen a light, a medium, and a dark of each of my 3 primary colors. And I put their corresponding pencil numbers here on my list. If you, that should be auto-focused enough for you to be able to see that. The 118, the 119, the 120, the 155, 154, 156, the 149 with a 165 overlay. Now that is because there is not really a light olive green in this set. So what I did is experiment until I found a green that I could lay a gray over, because the way to make olive green is to mix yellow with black, but just a teeny tiny bit of black. So using that same theory, I wanted to see if I used a yellow-green and put a little bit of a gray over it, if that would make it a light olive green, and it does. So that is my light olive green. My 152 is my medium. My 151 is, it's probably a yellower green than I want, but it will do. Additionally, I chose some contrast colors. I chose the darkest pink, which is, and I didn't write this one down, this is the one, oops. Oh, pen, don't fail me now. This is the 117, and then I also chose the gold. Now, the gold in this set is very iridescent. Look at that. And I like it, so I was going to use it to maybe overlay some of these colors in some of these places. Even I could use it to overlay some of the greens if I wanted to, and just add a layer of shimmer. You never know. There's jewels on this page, so we might want a little shimmer. And then of course the 163, which is a brown. And the brown is sort of the foil or the dark shade. This is a dark umber to the olive greens. So I will give you a chance here a little bit to pause the video, go grab your image, select your colors, and be right back, and we'll get started. See you soon. Okay, are we ready to get started on a new adventure? Hopefully everybody has their image and has picked out the colors, whether or not they are the same ones I'm going to use or colors of your own. Whenever I do a drawing, I like to start with what I know I want to be what. In this particular case, I could start with the flowers because I know I want the flowers are going to be in the pinks. The background and this framework here are going to be in the golds, and the gemstones and perhaps something else will be in the olive greens. So I know where I want to start, and since I love to do gemstones, I am going to start by doing a couple of gemstones. Now, obviously, if we were to actually color this in real time, this series would end up lasting forever. So I think what we'll do, since this is a mandala type drawing, is to start by doing a few, like maybe an hour's worth of coloring on a particular thing, and then everybody color in their own time, and then episode 2 we'll move on to the next thing. So in this, all I did really there was just to, let me see if I can move you down one more without losing focus, is just to put a little bit of box in there with the highlights that I want. And my pencil is very sharp. Now I do like to use the actual white for my highlights. You don't have to do that. You can use, you can color your gemstone in and use a white Posca pen or an eraser, for that matter, will do the trick as well. But I like to draw mine in. And they don't all have to be exactly the same. That first one is probably better than most of them. But let's say we'll do 4. And I make them look kind of like a, I don't know, narrow at the bottom and wider at the top. Like a tadpole. That's it, like a tadpole. And then I'll start up here with my little circles. And I know that I want the, I'm going to color these as if they're standard gemstones with the highlight there, which means that all of this sort of around it will be dark, and then you'll come down. And once again, the best place to learn to color gemstones, more than gemstones, what I'm going to do is make these translucent glass, is over at CLAldridgeArt. If you go over to Amanda Rose Rambo at CLAldridgeArt, one of my favorite people in the world, she can show you how to color a variety of different gems. I usually am coloring translucent stones, so I do it this way, but I need to get over there and learn more about different gemstones. Now, all right, so I've gone as far as I'm going to. I've run a little bit of the olive green up there, but now I want to add some lighter color. And I want to add my lighter color very, very lightly. Remember, the delis, since they are very similar to the polychromos, they are a layering pencil. So if you are working with a layering pencil, then you know that you need to hold your pencils sort of back here to the back. And sorry about the freezing there for a second. And just put a light layer. And then you can go on. Now in this particular case, I also have this darker green, so I am going to come in a little bit on my very bottom edges with just a little of the darker green, and up here at the top. And then continue on. Now I can just get very light with this This is the medium, by the way. I'm using the medium of our color palette. I am using actually the medium color 152. And just even going a little bit lighter than I did up above. And you can, don't be afraid to throw in some other colors. Like, for instance, this is that brown, the darkest of the browns. If you want to highlight an outside edge or darken up a spot, it is the perfect color to use. Or let's say you might want to add a little bit of gold zhuzh. Just because we're going to keep the colors sort of primary or limited to these particular colors doesn't mean that we can't use like a reflection of something. Because if this has got mustard in it, maybe there's a little of this mustard color reflected in our green gemstone. So keeping it interesting. Also, since this is olive, I might want to go ahead and use the gray to sort of dull down the brightness of that particular stone, because I definitely want these to maintain their oliveness. I love this olive green. Well, it's not my favorite. My favorite is emerald green, but just gives you a chance to sort of see what you can do, and you can tweak, maybe bring in a little bit of gold in there. Even the gold pencil will work. It sort of blends those colors together without because then you can use your medium green still and just come down very, very lightly over the and see how that gives that gemstone a very cool sort of depth when you use different colors in it. So you can just experiment with that as you go along. Start the next one over here. One of the things that I do love about these particular pencils on this, because I do publish with KDP, which is used to be CreateSpace, but when we went to KDP, they gave us slightly better paper, which is good, and these pencils particularly, you don't end up with the white spots that you used to end up with the Prismacolors sometime. You can always blend out those white spots, but it's easier. One of the reasons I like these pencils so much for this paper is because it blends so easily. They are slightly harder than the Prismas, but not so much that you'd notice, And I like the fact that they do layer a little nicer as well. So, at least for me. My Prismas are so soft. At this time of the year, I find that, because it's very warm in the house, that they don't always perform the best. They don't perform at their best. I like to use my Prismas in the winter time when it's cool. So just doing the, I'm not doing any final, darkening or contrasts just yet. Right now I'm really just laying down the color and making sure that these are the way that I want them to be. And you can even add a little interesting streak of dark in there if you want to. Change it up. Throw in a little, once again, a little, maybe a darker shade of brown. Make your gemstones interesting. Interesting to you, interesting to move that gray a little bit to dull that shine down. Now these do need to be quite a bit darker up here, just around the highlight. And you can even, usually as a last touch, I will go ahead and bring out the black and do a dark shadow line underneath, just to give it that much more depth and definition. Because even though you limit your color palette to 3-color family, or three colors with the different, the different tints, or the different hues, the different tones, doesn't mean that you don't also need your black and your white. Because you always need your black and your white. So I'm just going to blend this lighter color around in some of those areas, just because it's it's a less obtrusive color. Maybe add a little of the gold iridescence in there. A little darker on this side. That'll work. Now I can go very lightly, sort of all over with the medium. So this week I watched a new episode of Curiosity Inc. I've been following what they're doing with creating the general store, but I've also been following the side project, which is really the one that interests me, where Alex is actually restoring an old BMW Isetta in his garage. This was a car that it's hard to describe. It really does look like a bubble on wheels. But it's just a little, you could actually pick, it looks like you could pick it up and take it away with you. It's a cute little car, seats one person comfortably, but it actually seats 2 people. Definitely not a car you would want to take on the freeway or the Autobahn. See, now that one got a little small. I'll probably end up having to hit that with a corner of an eraser or something to see if I can't bring that one up a little bit, that highlight. So I'm really just doing all 3 of them, or all 4 of these, the same way. Just lightening it up along there. Then I can add in my light. But one of the things about doing drawings like these is by the time you get done coloring in all of your translucent glass, you will be an expert at coloring in translucent glass. Because with each one, you figure out what works best for you. You know, you'll get results that you like. Maybe you'll get a result or two that you don't. Those are all part of the story of the book. Going for a little gray to dull down the brightness there. Added in a little bit of that brown. Going to add in a little bit of darker around the edge there and around the edge here on this one. Not all the way around, just part way. You might even, you're almost, and I know that drives some people nuts when I do that, so I'll stop doing it. That is just a little powder puff brush that I picked up over at the dollar store to brush away pencil dust. Not that there is any pencil dust with these, but it's just a habit. And I watched a little bit of Caroline Color and Chat today, and of course I watched Dee Dee Willingham on both Monday and Wednesday, so I felt lucky to be there both days. And somewhere here in my house I have misplaced my glasses. So my personal challenge is to find them. I have been actually looking for them for about 4 days, and if it wasn't for the fact that I know that they have to be here somewhere, because I was wearing them when I drove out. I got some food, to which I did not have to get out of the car. I went to a drive-thru, I picked up the food, I brought it back home, and I have not been out since, so I know that they must be here. I did have a disaster on my desk during one of my filming attempts, and a stack of stuff fell. So if my glasses were sitting on top of it, the stack, and they got flipped somewhere, then I will eventually be able to find them. I even searched the trash. Literally dumped the whole trash can out onto a clean bag, and went through it all and determined that they're not in the trash, so I could safely put my trash out, and which I did. But do you ever have that happen? I've searched everywhere. Because I take them on and off because they're progressive lenses, but the prescription is kind of old, and so it's gotten to the point where I actually have to take them off to read. But I need them for everything else, like driving. All right. Yeah, those are looking good. I am liking those very, very much. But they will turn up. Where, I don't know, but I went to, I had to go to Walmart yesterday. I usually go to Walmart at 4 a.m., but instead I had to go at 4 in the afternoon Because the one thing I will not ever attempt is driving at night without my glasses. No way. No way. I can manage it well enough during the day, but definitely not at night, so. Just one of those frustrating things. And of course, you know, when I finally find them, I am just going to laugh and kick myself that they were in some place, you know, so obvious the entire time. They're not in the sofa cushions. They're not in the freezer. They're not in the refrigerator or any of the, or the refrigerator, and they're not in any of the kitchen drawers. They're not on my head. That was the first place I looked. They're not in the bathroom. They're not in the hamper, and they're not in my pocket. And they're not in my purse. They don't seem to be on any surface in my house. I think I've looked at everything that's out in the open, and they're not, you know, lurking around on top of the refrigerator or anything like that. So I think the gremlins took them. And they're just having a time with me, right? A house elf took them for polishing, and he hasn't brought them back yet. And they can all four be a little different, and it, you know, and still have it just be really, really cool. And I just love this color for gemstones. That is really what made me want to do this particular color palette. And actually, I was hunting around for really cool color palettes and looking for different inspirations and things like that. And I have some of my designs are available on fabrics and things like that through this company called Spoonflower. And I think it was in one of these books. I found a print that had these three colors on it, and I just absolutely loved it. So when you're flipping through magazines or, you know, through really anything, you can find all sorts of inspiring color palettes to work with. Everywhere. Oh my goodness, so sorry about that. I had to take a quick little break to have a little coughing fit. It is there's another rainstorm coming, and this has been a very wet week here in Virginia, and whenever I am allergic to garden mold or leaf mold. And so when it rains and it's hot, it's humid, and it's raining every afternoon, so needless to say, there's just a ton of mold buildup in the you know, in the mulch and the leaves and things like that. So it makes me cough. You can, and you can use pretty much any color, light color, to blend out your areas, because at a certain point the paper won't accept any more pigment, so you can just really just okay, there we go. That one's a little bit better. It was, when I looked at it on camera, that just looked a little too bright to me. All right, so let's move on and do maybe some of the framework around, and I'll show you what I have in mind for the coloring of that. And at least my version, whatever your version is, can be however you like it. And I am going to, I've got the three colors. I've got the light, the medium, and the dark in the gold. Then I've also got the gold, and I've got this darker brown, which I can also pull in from over in the brown if I want to, because I was using it also to as the darkest shade of blending out for this. So one of the things that I like to do is just color in, if there's going to be an area that's shaded or that's coming off of a that's supposed to be coming from underneath something, I'll put in just a little bit of dark around this first. There's all sorts of different schools of thought, shading afterwards, shading first, starting with your darks and then moving to your lights, that kind of thing. You do it however makes you comfortable. There is no right or wrong way, and even wrong shading is better than no shading. So I particularly like, in this particular instance, to put a little bit of the dark first and create my shadows that way. Now my friend Sue colors with markers, and she always starts with her shading first. She colors with Bics and Tombos. She's got she's got Sharpies, Bics, Tombos, and a couple of other brands of markers. And she loves to save her her almost running out markers, the ones that are running low on ink, and she uses those for her light color blending, when she's trying to blend a darker to a lighter. And it's just amazing the way that they work so well for that particular application. But then she also will always lay in her grays or shadows first, so that way she knows where she's going in the picture. So I'm just adding a little bit every place where this gemstone comes out over this framework. Not very much and not very hard, just enough. And who knows, you may want to color yours entirely differently, or you can do it this way. The point is always to make your coloring your own. You might use all the same colors in all the same places, but each person's coloring is unique to them. So fly that freak flag if you've got it. I do. I'm also just going to add a teeny bit along this leading edge here of this. This is probably an unnecessary step. I'm not sure where I'm going with this yet, but I always think that dark is a good place at the bottom. Most stuff is dark at the bottom. And this side here is going to be a little tricky because I've only got one gemstone on it. But we'll incorporate it anyway. Hope everybody is having a good week, that you've had some happiness to temper any unhappiness that you have. One does not like to think of their friends being unhappy. My dear friend who I've mentioned before, who recently, she and her husband recently retired, and they have retired to their to a small ranchette that they own in Arizona, and she has just finished her craft room and is now going to go back to work. She designs, she's a Hollywood stylist, but she also designs her own jewelry line, so I could not be more thrilled for her. All right, now I'm going to start with my own darkest, and I'm just going to work a little bit of it up, of the mustard. And I'm just sort of color mapping a little bit. See how I'm going right over where the dark was? And it just blends it right in. I love these pencils for this. I'm not being, I'm not being too soft about it. I am sort of feathering it out at the edge when I come up on the upstroke. So I'm only coloring one direction in like a flicking motion. But her studio is a thing of beauty. It's all, she's got, all built along the walls. There are rows of shelves with all of her supplies in them, and a craft room feels when you just tidied up, or just in this case set it up for the first time in a new place, and it all feels so shiny and new and wonderful and neat and tidy, and and how it never lasts. Although I suspect in hers it will. She's always been a neat freak, always organized. Me, I have chaos, but I know where everything is. So, except my glasses. And the problem is that I usually have a mental image of whenever I set something down, which is why I know I must have taken them off and set them down without looking. And, set them down without actually using my eyes to look at where it was, because that's how I remember things. I, have sort of a photographic memory, and so I can tell you exactly where it was the last time I saw it, but I don't have any memory of it looking, of taking them off, which means I didn't look. Now, that means that I probably took them off in the kitchen and set them, somewhere on top of a cereal box. You know they're going to turn up in the crisper drawer. No, they're not, because I already looked there. All right, so there's that, and now I'm just going to move up to my next shade. Oops, look at that, I still missed a few. Oh, sorry, I still missed a few. I missed a few in here. Let's see here. I think I've got, oh, I should say that, shouldn't I? I have always avoided Chick-fil-A. A couple reasons. One, I've never much cared for their politics, and you know they made some choices along the way political choices along the way that I didn't agree with, and I kind of wouldn't go out of my way to go there. And fortunately for me, there wasn't one handy. Well, that has changed. They opened one literally on the corner from me, just up the street a little ways. They put an entrance to it. They cut a deal with the apartment building next door and put an entrance to it so that it's convenient, or not the apartment building next door to them, so that it's convenient from a street that I use regularly. That means that I don't have to go out on the high, the high speed road. I can actually access their drive-through from a residential street. Always a plus in my book. If I don't have to go out of the neighborhood to go there, there's a much better chance that I will go there. So to make a long story short, I went to Chick-fil-A for the very first time the other day, and I had never been to one, so had no idea what to expect. And of course, the first thing is that you don't talk into a box. You actually have a real person who takes your order, and then you drive around the building in Walt Disney fashion, like a ride, all the way around the building to go pay for your meal, and they hand you your food, which is a very efficient system and really quite entertaining. Oops. I need to finish with one before I go off on another. So I liked that very much. And I liked the fact that they had sort of a limited menu. There are some places where you go where you look at the menu and you just have no idea. It's because you want to try, oh, well, that sounds good. Oh, well, that sounds good. Well, and as far as I'm concerned, when you are in a drive-through and there are people lined up behind you, that is not the time for you to sit and dither about what you're going to order. And so consequently, I don't do it. Even if it's someplace where I've never been, I keep it simple. I say, do you have, this? And they say yes. I said, I'll take one of those. And she asked me a series of questions that were easy to answer. Do you want sauce? Well, what kind of sauce? Instead of that, I said, what would you choose? And she said the Chick-fil-A sauce. I said, that sounds good. And we were done. We were out of there. And I was really kind of unprepared for how good the sandwich actually was. It was not only was it hot and visually attractive when I got it home, but the lettuce was actually fresh, not wilted. The tomato was actually fresh, not wilted. The sauce was separate. Thank you so much. The waffle fries were a little waffly. You know, they were a little, they weren't very crisp. And I don't know if that's the shape particularly or the fact that it's so humid. Um, and I hope you guys are watching what I'm doing. Because I'm not doing very good at talking about it, am I? I've just been working up the colors from darkest to lightest. These colors right here, 1, 2, 3. And their lemonade is excellent. So, a good experience was had. I normally like the Wendy's spicy chicken burger, but or chicken fillet, whatever the thing is. Okay, now I'm also going to use this lightest shade right in that white area. I could leave it white, but I'm just using it very, very lightly and blending straight across the darker. So we're creating that really pretty frame with the lightest color here on the outside. And then you can use the gold and sort of go over the whole thing as your blender very, very lightly. And it puts down just a very hint of luminescence on the whole frame. I do like this pencil. You don't very often find metallic pencils that actually are. And this, I mean, this isn't super shiny, but it's just enough iridescent to really make it pop in person. And it just looks great. I don't know if you can see if I can get you to actually see that. Hard to actually get it to catch the light. Wait, I almost had it. There it is. Yeah, there it is. Okay. See how you can see that? Cool. I like it. I like it, I like it, I like it. And hopefully you like it too. I'm not forgetting about that outside ring, I just haven't gotten there yet. And you don't have to be super fussy about this. They super soft. They lay down so beautifully. You're not looking to, you know, make it shine like the moon, or, you know, silver or gold. If you want that, then you need to use probably your glitter paints. I have my own glitter watercolors that I made, that I showed in a couple of videos already. But if you wanted it to be shiny metal, you could do that as well. With the glitter watercolors or glitter gel pen, anything like that. Remember that you are, what is it Dee Dee says, you are the boss of your coloring book. So I like the way that that looks. Whoops, Sorry, hopefully you saw that. Yeah, I like the way that that looks with the green. Take a quick break and then we'll move on. Okay, and now for the this outer band up here. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Just come off it a little bit with a dark color that would be creating a shadow there on the outer bar. So even if all we accomplish this first day is to, or this first video, is to get the ring colored in, then when we come back I'll do another part and maybe do this in 3 parts so that we'll have the whole thing. And then I'll create an album for those who are on Facebook. And I'll create a hashtag for this. And I'll be thinking about that between now and the time that we end this. Okay, now for this is the next darkest or lightest in the line. So just adding a little bit of that in. I've never been very good at creating hashtags. See, what kind of thing could be? Okay, pink, mustard, and olive green. So it's a palette challenge. Well, it's the flowers of I don't know how to do that. CLA August Color Along. CLAldridge August Color Along. Too long. Well, maybe not. Awful August Color Along. No, I don't want to be associated with the word awful. We used to have that in the when I did escrow in Palm Springs, California. The real estate agents hosted an annual party called the Awful August Party. Because, trust me, in Palm Springs in August, it is awful. It really and truly is. It was the kind of party that, of course, every house in Palm Springs has a swimming pool anyway. Pretty much every house in California has a swimming pool. But it was the kind of party that you wore your swimsuit under your fancy cocktail, or, you know, not cocktail dress, but yeah, your fancy summer dress, because you were going to end up in the pool one way or the other anyway, so you might as well dress the part. So you'd put your swimsuit on underneath your sundress. Okay. Now I could probably richen up those colors a little bit. I was a little light with these while I was figuring out what I wanted to do. Not being super fussy, just laying in a little pigment. Excuse me. And then being able to go over some of that. With a second layer. Yeah, makes it a nicer gold. Then we can go over it with the actual gold pencil. And you can really see by the lead on this what a gorgeous pencil this one really is. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with this particular set of pencils. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the thunder for the day. Here we go again. Okay. So it looks like we are right on time. So the assignment between now and the next video, should you choose to accept it, is to go ahead and color all the way around. I can tell by where that thunder is coming from that this is going to be another one that might knock the power out. So I am going to go ahead and stop this one for today and say thank you for joining me. I will be continuing this. Thought maybe I'd do at least one segment a week, hopefully two, on the color along, and maybe just do it straight through. And but I want to give people time to do it once again. If you know of people who would like to have people join you in this color along, please don't give them a copy of yours. Please send them to my Facebook album. Please, if they would, like my page. And until we meet again, please color something pretty. I'll see you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.